Good morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Mapita CBD. In our first story, the four-member team tasked to investigate military brutality in war have submitted its preliminary findings. The committee has revealed that with the exception of the duty officer, all personnel who were on duty on July 1st when soldiers went on the rampage and brutalized some residents of war have been punished appropriately. The four-member team is under the auspices of the National Security and is led by Colonel B.Z. Ayorogo. And Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
Team formed under the auspices of the National Security comprised of 2 personnel from the Military High Command and 2 from the National Investigation Bureau. It has Colonel B.Z. Ayorogo as the team leader with Lieutenant Colonel George Edward B.C., Francis Abuaje, and Max Oldasa as members. They began work on Monday by receiving initial briefing from the commander of the 10th Mechanized Battalion Agri Barracks, Lieutenant Colonel F.K. Jima, before meeting the Upper West Region Minister, Dr. Hafiz Bin Sali, Upper West Commander of the National Investigation Bureau, Alexander Audu, and the Upper West Commander of the Ghana Police Service, DCOP, Francis Abuajinyako. The team later on Monday met 29-year-old Gafur Mahama, who developed a fracture in his right thigh bone and went under the knife at the Upper West Regional Hospital. They also met 15 other victims, including the public relations officer of the Upper West Regional Coordinating Council, Cletus Awuni. On Wednesday, the team spent the whole day at the 10th Mechanized Battalion Agri Barracks, meeting the soldiers who are alleged to have brutalized the stream of people in war on July 1. Our source revealed that the team was able to meet less than 30 of the 86 soldiers who were alleged to have humiliated and brutalized the stream of residents. The team is expected to be back at room 36 of the Upper West Regional Coordinating Council to interrogate a handful of victims they could not meet on Tuesday. They will round up their investigations by going back to the barracks to interrogate the over 4 dozen soldiers left. Meanwhile, JoyNews is learning that the team has made some preliminary findings on the investigation so far. Our sources said a soldier whose name is withheld on June 30 alleged his mobile phone was snatched from him around 18 hours. He informed his colleague private soldier, who in turn informed the duty officer same day. The duty officer is alleged to have permitted the troops to go to town to search for a missing mobile phone, which consequently led to the alleged brutality in war. The team found out that 11 persons suffered various degrees of injuries, 4 admitted at the War Municipal Hospital, 3 treated and discharged. Victims interrogated reported a loss of 13 mobile phones and 14,600 Ghana cedis. The preliminary findings also revealed that all personnel who were on duty on the day of the incident had been punished appropriately. Most of them had been demoted from their ranks. Some officers who were deeply involved and visibly identified in various videos brutalizing some residents have been charged, tried, and awarded 30 days detention by a disciplinary board chaired by the commanding officer. Meanwhile, the 4-member team will on Thursday continue their investigations. Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam.
In the Ashanti region, the prime suspect in the murder of a 33-year-old driver at Fiase New Site in Bosomtwe district has been leading police investigators to the scene where he allegedly murdered his victim. Rashid Ibrahim, 32 years old, has been given a detailed account of how he carried out the act. He hired the services of his victim at Kumase High School Junction, led him to a spot in the Atonso area, which is under development, before slashing him several times with a machete. Ohimintera, who monitored events, has more in the following report.
The decapitated body of the deceased, Israel Ejemenu, head teacher of Rogel Montessori School at Atonso, was discovered on Sunday, July 4, 2021 by some residents. It took a search party of the police and residents to locate the head in nearby bushes. According to police, the suspect, upon arrest on Sunday, confessed to the crime. He claimed someone assured him of money rituals to make him rich overnight if he presented a human head. Though Rashid was expected to make his first court appearance at the Continental District Court on Wednesday, there was no show. But whilst in handcuffs, Rashid demonstrated to police how he walked down his victim to the bush to pick some speakers. He told police officers he slashed the deceased multiple times from behind with a machete until he fell on the ground. It was after the deceased fell on the ground that he cut off his head. This is the spot where the prime suspect, Rashid Ibrahim, claims that after he has used machete to murder the late Israel Ejemenu in the bushes here, and blood has splashed into his shirt, he came down here to wash himself here. Behind me is the spot where he claims the driver parked the vehicle after he has picked him from High School Junction, a popular spot at Atunsu. Rashid said he then left the body to wash himself of blood stains from a construction tank nearby. But upon sensing some people were approaching the scene, he threw away the decapitated head into the bush and fled the scene. He was later arrested after a resident who saw him in the vicinity reported him to police. From Kumasi, for Joy News, Oyemi reporting.
Away from that, maize production in Ghana has recently been battered with the fall armyworm invasion. Though government adopted the use of chemical pesticides, it proved ineffective at reducing the pest infestation. Moreover, concerns were raised about the residues of the pesticides in crops on human health. Now, the Crops Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research is promoting the adoption of a technology dubbed the push-pull farming practices to reduce infestation and damage of maize by fall army. Love FM's Chrissy Deborah has Tech Thursday for today.
Outbreak of the fall armyworm in 2017, CSIR-CRI has taken a keen interest in finding appropriate ways of eradicating the menace by leading and participating in a number of research interventions. One of such interventions is a pull-push strategy.
I am Stephen Yabua. I'm a research scientist at Crop Research Institute and agronomist by profession. With this technology, we have three components. We have our maize crop. In between the maize crop, we have our desmodium plant, and outside the field, we have an elephant grass or napier grass. What happens, the science behind all this technology is that the desmodium will push the insect pest, the armyworm, and then the elephant grass at the border will attract the armyworm. So once the desmodium pushes the armyworm from the field, the elephant grass attracts the armyworm, and then the insect pests sit on the elephant grass and therefore free the maize from infestation. So as you can see, if you look at the leaves of this maize, we didn't spray against any fall armyworm infestation insecticide. No insecticide was used on this field, but the leaves are very clean. There was no infestation in terms of destruction or any other damage done to the leaf. What we are trying to do is that with this fall armyworm infestation in Ghana, if we are not able to manage it, then it's going to affect food security situations in the country, because maize is a food security crop in Ghana. And then without any intervention, especially non-pesticide approach of fighting fall armyworm, which will have environmental benefits, then we are going to be in a very serious situation in future. So all what we are trying to do is to exploit this non-pesticide approach to manage fall armyworm infestation for increased maize production and for enhanced food security in the country.
I'm Patricia Otindako. I'm a soil and water engineer and part of the push-pull research ongoing at the CSIR Crops Research Institute. The push-pull technology has several benefits. Among them is the fact that the intercrop, which is the desmodium, and the napier grass are also livestock food. But what the soil and water engineering team is currently looking at in this system is the water conservation model that this system applies. Currently, we have an intercropping system where the desmodium is used or intercrop between the maize. The desmodium is also a cover crop covering the soil surface, thereby reducing evaporation from the soil surface. So in effect, we are reducing the evaporation and conserving moisture in this system for the maize plant to use during seasonal droughts or in-season droughts. One major advantage that can be identified with this system is its sustainability. The legume that we plant, the desmodium, is a drought-tolerant crop. The farmer doesn't need to plant it every year, so is the napier grass. So once you establish the napier grass and the desmodium, what the farmer does is to come in every season to plant the maize. And this is a very sustainable way of improving our soil fertility, managing fall armyworm, and also conserving soil moisture for effective plant growth.
The fodder can be used as raw material for animal feed production in the government's Rearing for Food and Jobs program.
Back here in Accra, Vice Chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee, Patrick Yaboma, is urging members of Parliament to reject a $28 million car loan being procured for them by government from the National Investment Bank. The loan agreement has been referred to the Finance Committee after Deputy Finance Minister Abena Osei-Asare laid it on the floor of the House. The medium-term loan is expected to be disbursed to MPs to be paid back over the course of their 4-year tenure. The minister also laid in Parliament a similar request for a $3.5 million car loan for members of the 8th Council of State. But Mr. Wama, however, wants MPs to be assigned official vehicles like senior members of the executive and judiciary rather than handed car loans which they have to pay back. Meanwhile, NDC MP for South Dai, Roxanne Dafe-Makpo, says currently some MPs come to Parliament in Uber rides, which is worrying and unsafe. He says MPs deserve better than the $28 million car loans being given to them to purchase vehicles. Away from that, Mfatiman Girls' School has won the second edition of the Senior High School's Renewable Energy Challenge. The girls beat off competition from Adisadel College, St. Augustine's College and 5 others to win the regional contest. The Salt Point girls presented a project on road power where speed ramps could be erected on the country's busy highways to convert the motions or movements of the vehicles into energy to power streetlights and other small power-consuming projects. Coordinator of the School Challenge Project and Chief Program Officer in charge of bioenergy at the Energy Commission, Julius Nkansanyako, explained the exploits by the competing schools in their projects foretell a great future as far as Ghana's energy needs are concerned. Richard Kojanyako reports.
The competition, instituted by the Energy Commission of Ghana in collaboration with the Bui Power Authority and the Ghana Education Service, is to bridge the gap between theories and the practical that could provide solutions, especially in the energy sector. Infantiman Girls Senior High School came out with a project on road power generated energy from speed ramps.
So the roller here would replace speed ramps. So when the vehicles are moving on it, the ground moves so fast, they will have to take their time. So as they move on the road, they rotate, generating energy. At the same time, checking their speed rate to reduce road traffic, to reduce road accidents.
Coordinator of the School Challenge Project and Chief Program Officer in charge of the bioenergy at the Energy Commission, Julius Nkansanyako, explains the competition seeks to build linkages between the academia and industry.
It's unfortunate that sometimes you go through a particular science course and then you don't see some of the things yourself. You might see it in the books, but in reality you don't see or experience them. We want to go beyond that and get the student to actually make some of these things themselves and see that they work. It might not be too refined or robust, but then in their own small way, you can make things work and then increase the level of participation as well as interest in science education in the students in our secondary schools.
The 8 participating schools took turns to explain their project work on how renewable energy could answer national energy issues to ensure energy efficiency and economic growth. Some students and teachers of Academy of Christ the King spoke about their project that centered on energy solutions using banana peel, a resource that is readily available in the environment.
So we connected the 2 containers, put banana sledge in one container and the distilled water in the other container, such that the container containing the banana sledge will be the anode and that containing the distilled water will be the cathode.
I feel very excited and proud that we are able to come out with this plan to produce electricity with banana peels, because like nobody will even think about it.
So we chose banana because it was abundant in our area. So we mashed it, we sealed it in an airtight container, and then it generates some microbes. And then these microbes would absorb the energy, the nutrients in the banana sledge, and then release these electrons. With a channel as a conductor, the electrons move through the conductor, and then through the multimeter, we can read the energy that has been generated.
It means that if you have banana, all that you do is just blend it and put it inside and your energy will come. So we can produce handy devices like these ones at homes. If you want energy, blend your banana, keep it for some time, then you put it inside and your volts will come out.
Director, Renewable Energy, Energy Efficiency and Climate Change at the Energy Commission, Kofi Ejaako, said his outfit remained committed to scientific innovations through science, technology, engineering and mathematics.
This competition is different from all the other science and math competitions that you see around you. And the difference is that with those ones, you are given a problem. You rack your brains and then you put down what you think the solution is. But with this one, you see a problem, you wrap your brain, apply your hands to come up with solutions.
Adesade College, on the other hand, relied on greenhouse solar and wind-dependent power home. St. Augustine's College worked on ocean wave energy. Potting Tiama Amas worked on solar oven, and Mankesim Senior High School worked on wind turbine generator. The best 6 school projects will be selected for exhibition for each zone for a presentation at the finals to be held at the Accra International Conference Center during the 7th Ghana Renewable Energy Fair that will be held on October 15. Reporting for Joy Business, Richard Kwejunyako, Cape Coast.
And that's how we end the AM News. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Mapito Sibidi. The AM show continues.
But let me quickly start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. It talks about COVID-19 restrictions being enforced still. Executive Instrument 188 in place. So if you thought, the executive instrument or the legislation when it comes to COVID-19 had somehow been exhausted or been sidelined, no, it is still in existence. That is according to checks by the Daily Graphic at the Attorney General's office and the Ghana Publishing Company, or Assembly Press. Question is, if it still is in force, how come we're seeing what we're seeing all over the place? I mean, nowadays I can count the number of people who are wearing masks, those I meet, outside of work, of course. Here, all of us do, but when you hit the streets, most people simply do not care. And I think it's got to the point where when people see you now with a mask, you are the oddity. You are the oddball, the odd one out. But I guess we all ought to take more precautions. Crush piracy networks, Vice President tells maritime security agencies. Apparently, Mamavi, the Gulf of Guinea was the most active globally when it comes to piracy in the world. And that is quite a bit of cause for alarm. Rising prices of goods and services. Council of State engages industry players. I was following the story yesterday, and it appears the cost of everything from cement to iron rods to foodstuff that you buy at the market have shot up. And there have been some engagement with industry people to find out what can be done about these prices in these COVID-19 times. 5 die in gory accident at Omenako. First half year deaths surpass 1,450. It just keeps getting worse. Just keeps getting worse. When you go to the middle spread of the paper, counter-terrorism project for 5 West African countries launched. We're committed to renewable energy generation. That's according to Mr. President. And then a drug disturbances inquiry. Our intervention saved situation. That's according to the military. And yesterday I couldn't help but smile in interest when, was it David Ajim had his... Yes, had his turn, after which Philip Hammond also had his turn. And looking at them and their body language and the reactions, I'll keep them there. But some interesting things that came up yesterday, different dynamics to the story. Of course, as we delve into it, we'll be bringing you more of that. On the back page, Ghana, Switzerland signed 2 agreements and 4 arrested in Western Region Galamsey pit swoop. That's it for the Daily Graphic.
Let's jump into the Ghanaian Times newspaper. On the front page, on the Ejira killings probes, military returned fire for fire, according to the Central Commander. Gulf of Guinea tops global kidnapping for ransom cases in 2020. Fire personnel battled the Makola fire for 3 days, we're being told. President courts Swiss support to increase renewable energy. If you go to page 3, man allegedly murders wife at Breman Esekuman. So this is a 39-year-old woman, and we're told there was a misunderstanding, and it led to him allegedly killing her. And then he also attempted committing suicide by drinking some poison, but of course he did not die. Police is now looking further into the matter. They said the suspect has committed a crime at Esekuma. So they've got records on him. When the police contacted colleagues at Esekuma, they said that the murder of Adiza, that's the name of the deceased now, was reported to them. Okay, so suspect was under armed guard at the hospital receiving treatment while investigation into the case continued. And then a suspected robber was killed and another wounded when a gang engaged the police in a shootout in Obuasi in the Ashanti region on Monday. Police has given details of those involved, but they were arrested at St. Peter's Catholic Hospital at Jacobo, where one of them was receiving treatment from gunshot wounds. The rest of the story is on page 3. Anti-Galamsey Task Force has arrested 4 suspected illegal miners, and that story is also in the paper today on page 3. If you look at the center spread, we need innovative technologies to check road accident, according to the Chief Executive Officer of the State Transport Corporation, STC. There's a story about a chief warning. Okay, so that's on page 24. Techiman Omahene warns noise makers, and he says, you know, excessive noise within his jurisdiction is not entertained, and this is to minimize the noise, or as in persons must minimize the noise or be dealt with according to law. So it's Osiadeyo Ameyao, Ekumfi Ameyao the 4th, the paramount chief of Techiman Traditional Council, given this warning.
It's interesting, isn't it? Osiadeyo. So what he's threatening, he will do. Osiadeyo Okanobeye. So what he's threatening here, he will likely execute.
Sometimes the noise gets really annoying, very annoying. And then this is the fire service also saying that fire on the 4-story building at Makola in Accra ignited again for the 3rd day yesterday, for which personnel of the Ghana National Fire Service were still battling pockets of fires on the building. I think what I heard was that some of the stores, especially around the area affected, were not allowed to operate. I think the entire, I'm not sure the number of people that they've evacuated, but it looks like we have to, the entire place. Maybe there's something particularly wrong with the building itself, especially when it has a basement and we're told there are some combustible materials kept in there.
So on day 2, we were told there was a warehouse which had some combustible material, which you would have expected that on day 1, first of all, there would have been some communication with those who had stores and stalls in the place to find out what sort of material was in there. I would expect that the Ghana National Fire Service would want to investigate those matters, because they also investigate to avert some of these matters. Now, on day 2, we had, a reignition of the fire. And here we are, even after the 3rd day, there's still, more fire to be dealt with. That just paints a very disturbing picture, because if the structure itself also loses its structural integrity or whatever and comes down, then that is going to be another problem on its own. If the structure collapses, because the fire would weaken, the building itself. So I think we really need to take a hard look at that, and beyond that, how we deal with quenching fires.
We can't even be sure that
that
fire would be reignited again. This is the 4th day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because if it's
on day
been
3,
able
it
to
was
happen
reignited.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
On day 4, we can't be sure. And we hope that the fire service has everything under control now. At least now they know what they're dealing with.
Do they?
Well, they've been there for a while.
If there are combustibles somewhere else in this building, we can only pray that it doesn't reignite. I mean, we've seen it over and again, and I don't know how much. When you read the stories, they will not tell you that, now we've exhausted every combustible element in there. So we can only hope
it is
that
difficult
things
because
get
you know
better.
how, in the market things happen. It's not like there's only one person keeping their wares there. So you can't tell. There are different people who come and deposit, and even the owner of the place may not know exactly what is.
But this is where it is very good to have some systems in place. So, of course, we know if you go to the Accra Mall, for example, you can even, when you Google it, you would know which stores are in there, right?
You're talking about the Accra Mall.
No, but I'm saying that this should be replicated in our different facilities, especially in a place as crammed as Makola.
Who manages? Because we know that there's the
exactly.
mall. There's the Makola Mall.
Exactly.
That is managed. But the other side of the Makola Mall, who manages those
why
facilities?
isn't it being managed properly? And the least we can do is know that we have X number of stores, that there are X number of people who are plying their trade in them, and that this is what they sell. That helps you. Firecrackers have been banned, for example. People still sell them anyway. But imagine if someone there was selling firecrackers. You should be able to know and say that, in store 37, you need to target that place because there's someone who sells firecrackers there. So we need to target it before it causes an explosion or something. If we can't do that, then what in essence are we doing?
Yeah, I agree with you. Maybe this gives us an opportunity to pull down such structures and get it under proper management. Yeah.
Well, let's check out the Daily Dispatch very quickly. The Ghanaian media can start a war in Ghana. Kennedy Japan says that. It's on the back page. Let me just quickly get into that. And Asin Central MP, that is Kennedy Japan, says the media in Ghana can plunge the country into war. He cites recent reportage on the death of an activist in Ejura, and he accuses the media of engaging in insightful reportage that has led to deaths. He has averred that if Ghana ever descends into a state of instability, the trigger will certainly be the media, mainstream or social media. He is also chairman of Parliament's Defence and Interior Committee, and he said he was concerned about how false news was easily put out by media outlets, citing the recent case of reportage on activist Ibrahim Muhammad, a.k.a. Macho Kaka, whose death led to a deadly protest in Ejura. I wouldn't go on. There are further details, but that is the essence of this story. And I am disappointed, I must say, in the Asin Central Member of Parliament to state categorically that if there's going to be any turmoil, it is going to be the media, whether the print media, media on television or radio, or social media. I find it a bit worrying. It appears on the back of what has happened in Nigeria, even on day 1, some of the questions posed to some journalists, it would appear the media were on the chopping block. We do our work. We are not perfect in any way. We don't claim perfection from any angle at all. But we have standards, and we strive to put the very best out there. So these suggestions, it would almost appear as though there's always a pushback when it comes to leadership failure. And there must be a lame duck on which you can hang, around whose neck you can hang the blame. And I think that is despicable, it is irresponsible, and it doesn't show proper leadership. It doesn't, not at all. Let's take the blame for what we are, liable for. And when the media also fault us, yes. But this kind of language, and we certainly will. Mama V, maybe Makamedi on that matter.
Well, thank you.
Makani now.
It's just a bit confusing. I think it's a bit confusing. And I've heard people say that they're not sure what we're unraveling here. Was it the media reports or it was the killing, the events surrounding the killing of those persons protesting? And then we know there are people who have also recorded very serious injuries, So, people are a bit confused as to exactly what we're investigating here with this whole media whether it's media criticism or media attack or media backlash. But I guess we'll see. I mean, it's 10 days, right? Except that every day they've sat twice now. This will be the third day. And every day there's a time dedicated for the media. Yeah. So maybe that's also part
That's why I said it would almost appear as though we were on the chopping block, when in fact if we, an entity like multimedia, if we hadn't put out there the visuals that we had, perhaps this committee wouldn't even be, because no one would even know, would have to take the word of whoever in leadership, the military, the police, for it. I mean, it would have been the ordinary citizens against their word against theirs.
Yeah, in the beginning, I thought our visuals would be very useful to the work of the committee, but I'm not sure.
What, you've changed your mind?
I'm not sure now, because all the references so far have been on this one video presented by the Ashanti Regional Minister, which, by the way, we're not sure what the source is, because we can't tell who shot it.
And there have even been incidents in Idra. We can't even tell whether that specific video is reflective of what happened on that day.
But ours was a live. We were streaming live that day. Yeah. But I'm not sure if our visuals will be helpful in the end. But we're just volunteering information. So if it's not useful to the committee, I mean,
we've done our bit.
Absolutely.
We fulfilled our responsibility. Let investigations reveal what happened at Idra. That's according to Albert Kandapa, National Security Minister. And finally, deaths in road accidents January to June, a 27% increase over last year's. And that will be it for the Daily Dispatch.
Let's do the Daily Guide now on the front page. Idra probe, youth shot at us, according to... well, they say soldier, but we know 2 soldiers appeared before the committee yesterday. Protesters had weapons, according to reporter. Okay, so would this be, because I didn't listen to the City FM reporter's account yesterday, so maybe that's what it's attributed
Likely
to.
Would be him.
Yeah. All right. Vice President wants action on piracy and kidnapping. Also $28 million for MPs' cash. And this is getting a lot of people talking, but it's a loan, y'all. And I heard people say you don't scrutinize the executive the way you do to MPs. Is it because they're an easy target? You know you can get away with. Nobody is going to tag you, if you like. Why don't you take that fight onto the executive? That's what's on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper.
The Daily Statesman now. President Lord's Ghana-Switzerland relations. Ghana battles pirates and kidnappers. Baumia calls for collaboration among coastal countries. And don't use live bullets to disperse crowd. Security agencies told that story on page 2. And the security agencies have been urged not to resort to the use of live bullets to control the crowd when there are riots. The appeal was made by Justice George Kingsley Kumsin, an appeals court judge, or a judge of the Court of Appeal, let's put it that way, who is chair of the 3-member committee probing the disturbances that occurred in Idra in the Ashanti region. So that is some of what he's been saying. There's also CSOs and fisheries demand end to Seiko fishing. That is on page 8 of the newspaper.
Let's go through the business finder on the front page. No room for piracy attacks if we must revive economies, according to Dr. Baumia. Make Ghana manufacturing hub of Africa. It comes with a picture of Kwame Pienim. EcoBank present 28.8 billion Ghana cedis dividend to SNITS. And they've got the market summary, consumer price inflation, interest rate. So Bank of Ghana policy rate stands at 14.5%. 91-day Treasury bill is 14.06%. 188-day Treasury bill is 14.10%. Not much of a difference. There's the currency. US dollar now 5.7. The pound is 8.1.
8 point what?
1. Euro is 6.99. Or yeah. Okay.
We've fared pretty well against the dollar, haven't we? Over the last few months, we've done
5.7, like it's coming down, huh?
Yes, it's been pretty stable, I should say. But when it comes to the pound, the British pound, I saw it on social media somewhere. Someone said, "Be afraid of any currency that has a surname, pound sterling." and well, I guess the pound has always given us a headache, hasn't it? It's just because if you want to do anything in pounds, it just brings to mind some transaction a friend had to do, and it's a headache when you have to transact in the pound. Big headache.
To think that the euro is actually performing rather very badly against the pound at this time, because the difference, it's very significant, 6 and 8.
Well, it basically reflects our currency and its own trading against those other currencies. So it may not technically be the British pound against the euro, against the euro like that. Anyway, are you done with the finder?
Yes, I am.
Finally, with the BNFT, striking IEPA deal amid young after premature. That's a trade expert, Mame Awena Dokanyirige, and she says it won't develop indigenous industries to take on Africa. There's mid-year budget must be conservative to avoid fiscal slippages. Economist cautions government. We'll see what emerges in that mid-year budget. Healthcare industry sees soaring demand for telepharmacy. That's on page 2 of the paper. And then COVID-19, government seeks additional $200 million loan to scale up COVID-19 fight. Let's check out what the middle spread of the paper has. It talks about, will Green Ghana projects lead to green tourism? That's a question. It's a bit of an opinion there by Philip Gebu. And there's also talk about Rotary Club of Accra inducting a new president. On the back page, nominations open for 5th Ghana Energy Awards, and Unichem presents medical items to Rebecca Foundation. That's it for that paper. Just the mention of Rebecca Akufo-Addo, the First Lady, though, brings to mind this post I saw about doling out sums of money to First and Second Ladies. I saw a post where someone was saying, well, this is only good until we have our first Muslim president with 4 wives. So not just a Muslim president, but a Muslim president with 4 wives. And then we would see whether we are paying all of them or whatever. But I'm sure if we maintain this and we get to that bridge, we shall eventually cross it. Let's start digging into the papers now. I'll take a few stories from some of the papers I have. Today, I did not take a look at the international pages. I shall quickly do so. Page 5, nearly 2,100 migrants died trying to reach Spain. And you know, that is in the first 6 months of 2021, roughly the same number during all of last year, a migrant rights group yesterday said. And you know how disastrous that is. A lot of our people also try that crossing going through, I believe it's the island of Lampedusa, many other routes that have been used across the Sahara and all of that. Deadline looms for SA police to arrest Zuma. And then on page 9, let's check out quickly what is there today. Haitian President Jovenel Moïse assassinated. And this one has been an interesting, very interesting one. I think all of the international media houses have been taking a look at it. It beats everyone's imagination at how Moïse was assassinated and his wife wounded in an attack at their home by unidentified gunmen. But we're hearing, of course, today that some people have been captured with a few others on the run. But let's come back to Ghana and delve into some of the topical matters that are being discussed. Counterterrorism project for 5 West African countries launched. That's in the middle spread of the paper, and the story says a project on counterterrorism in 5 West African countries, including Ghana, dubbed Strengthening Response Capacities of State and Civil Society Actors in Preventing and Countering Terrorism and Violent Extremism in Coastal States in West Africa, has been launched in Accra. The project, which is being supported by the Japanese government, will be implemented by the UNDP and the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center right here in Accra. The other beneficiary countries are Benin, Togo, the Ivory Coast, and Burkina Faso. Now, if you look at the Daily Graphic's number crunch, it talks about more than 6,000 fatalities being recorded by the UN in the 3 Sahelian countries of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso in 2020. Of course, I was speaking a bit earlier about how the Gulf of Guinea is the highest, the topmost when it comes to piracy attacks globally. And that is a script that ought to be changed as quickly as possible. But let's, on that same page, get into what the military has been saying so far at the Kumsin Committee. Ejura disturbances inquiry, our intervention saved the situation. That's according to the military. And the General Officer commanding the Central Command of the Ghana Armed Forces, Brigadier General Joseph Apfo, has told the Ministerial Committee of Inquiry into the Ejura disturbances that the intervention by soldiers during the protest in the town saved the situation from escalating. He said, but for the intervention of the military, more lives could have been lost, adding that his men did not do anything out of the ordinary, but only followed a military standard operating procedure, what is known as SOP. The Brigadier General, who was testifying before the committee in Kumasi yesterday, said the military was compelled to use minimum force to control the crowd during the demonstration over the alleged murder of Ibrahim Muhammad. According to him, the soldiers had earlier issued a verbal warning to the irate crowd to retreat, but they did not budge, compelling the soldiers to fire warning shots. So we've got all sorts of things. I intentionally took the time to also follow on social media, even as we were airing on JoyNews, the proceedings of the committee's work. And I noticed the sort of comments that people were posting about the use of the word missile, for example. Of course, a hand-thrown element, projectile, if you like, when you're throwing something, whether it's a Molotov cocktail, a stone or something, yes, it can be given certain definitions. People have said that, well, people might have been wielding weapons, none were used, and all of that. And whether maybe there was that balance, proportionality between someone throwing a stone or using sticks versus someone with live bullets. We've also heard, for example, how that military officer we see aiming, so to speak, I'm just doing it so that you know exactly what I mean, aiming into the crowd, actually did not fire. So these are some of the latest developments, and we're being told now by the military that they were actually using minimum force to control the crowd. Of course, there have been concerns. Justice Kumsin himself has spoken about involving the military in such incidents and how they ought to be taken out. Because let's face it, their SOPs, their modus operandi is very different from what you'd expect of the Ghana Police Service. So only time will tell. We'll wait for the committee to come out with its findings. We'll see what those findings will amount to and whether anything at all will amount or be generated from those findings. And then I guess we can take it from there. There's also the story on the back page of the paper. 4 arrested in Western Region Galamsey pit swoop, and 2 Chinese have been arrested for allegedly facilitating an illegal mining expedition by some local people in a forest in the Western region. And Ligo Hua 40 and Wei Hua Fen 37 were caught in the act at Kwekukrom in the Nzema East municipality, while superintending over affairs as financiers who had employed hundreds of locals in the illegal mining business, commonly called Galamsey. So these individuals had employed over 100 people, hundreds, in fact, of locals in this illegal business. They were arrested along with 2 Ghanaian accomplices, Gambo Akpanda, 29, and Karim Abdullahi, 28. In terms of equipment, the team also seized the equipment among other logistics used by the miners, including 16 jumbo gallons of diesel, 1 water hose, 1 shanfan, motorized machine, and fuel pumping motor, and 3 excavators at the site. Another group and their excavator operators managed to escape. So that is it for that story. At least the system biting in terms of curbing all these pockets of illegality when it comes to Galamsey. Let's check out page 2 of the Daily Dispatch newspaper, where Albert Kandapa is talking about letting investigations reveal what happened at Ejura. And that story practically saying, right before we go online and check out some more stories, the Minister for National Security, Albert Kandapa, has cautioned against hasty conclusions following the killing of 2 persons in Ejura when an armed military officer was seen aiming into a crowd that was protesting and demanding justice for the slain community activist Ibrahim Muhammad. Speaking yesterday at the opening ceremony of a 3-day national stakeholders dialogue on the theme, Countering Post-2020 Election Violence and Building Consensus for Greater Political Tolerance, Mr. Kandapa said investigations into the incident will provide details on what truly happened. So what really happened in Ejura? The truth with Ejura is that people are drawing conclusions when nobody knows what exactly happened. As the head of the security apparatus, I really don't know what happened, and yet people are drawing their own conclusions, and I think that is the danger we have in this country. That is his thinking. Of course, we also have footage from what really happened, which we've been putting out there. And at least that creates, it draws a picture. It gives us a bird's eye view of what exactly transpired on the day. Of course, we'd have to put the pieces together and with the committee's work, hopefully, bring some closure to the matter. One thing is clear. We need peace in the country, but in getting that peace, there must also be justice. People have died. Lives have been taken. People have been injured. Those who are responsible on whatever side, whether on the side of the task force, the military, the police, or on the protesting, on the side of the protesting youth, whoever is culpable must have their heads roll. Not literally, but people must face up to what they are culpable for. And let's ensure that that is done. That is the bottom line. Well, thank you very much for staying with us in the course of the news review. Right before we go, though, right before sports, happy birthday to Squadron Leader Isaac Opong of the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. Is from Ekosam and the boys. Yeah, Ekosam and the boys. Squadron Leader, happy birthday to you. On that note, we'll be getting into more of the Euros and other action, as yesterday, England escaped by the skin of their teeth, beating Denmark by 2-1. More coming up in sports with Muftau Nabila. Do stay. Thank you for staying with us as we delve into the crucial matters of what happened in Ejura and, of course, Wa. Joining us for the conversation, Adam Bona. He's a security analyst. My colleague, Rafiq Salam, who is our Upper West regional correspondent, is also joining us via Zoom. Rafiq, in your shot there. Later on, we'll be joined by some others who will help us as we get into this discourse. But let me start with you, Rafiq Salam. So you paint the picture for us, in Wa, at least currently. So from what we hear, this committee has been sitting and some punishment has been meted out to military officers. Some have been demoted and all of that. Tell us about those, is it 60 plus, who were on duty on the said day, and what exactly has been meted out to them by way of punishment?
The information that we have gleaned on clearly stated that 86 young soldiers were involved in the act. the incident started somewhere around 30th June, where one of them complained of his mobile phone being snatched. So he relayed the information to his colleague, a private soldier, and then they went to the duty officer, and he gave them the opportunity to move to town to look for the missing mobile phone. And so, which led to the brutalities in the Wa township. And our information also revealed that 3 soldiers, talking about the Central Guard and 2 others, have also been demoted from their current rank. Some of them are staff sergeant, and then they have been reduced to corporal, and then also some lance corporal, and they have also been demoted to private. The other investigations that we that was revealed in the preliminary findings also stated that 8 soldiers currently are on detention. They were charged, tried, and then at the committee that was chaired by the commanding officer at the barracks there. And so they have also, the committee so far have also met 16 of the victims and witnesses. And today they are going to continue hearing at the Upper West Regional Coordinating Council. The information that we also had is that out of the 86 soldiers that was alleged to have committed the act yesterday, they were also able to hear their side, about 20 of them. And so after the sitting at the Upper West Regional Coordinating Council, they will continue at the 10 Mechanized Battalion Agri Barracks in Wa to also listen to the side of the soldiers. What we also do know is that the military also had initial briefing from the National Investigations Bureau Commander, Mr. Alexander Audu. They also were briefed by the Upper West Regional Police Commander, DCOP Francis Abodinyako, and then also by the commanding officer, who is Lieutenant Colonel Jima. And then also they also had some briefing from the Upper West Regional Minister, Dr. Hafiz Bin Sali. So far, that is the situation in the Upper West region here with regards to the alleged military brutalities. So the committee is still sitting, and they will continue their sitting today.
And of course, that committee led by Colonel Ayorogo, and those 86 involved in there, all having their cases got into. But we also hear that a duty officer on the day is alleged to have permitted the troops to go to town for the search of that missing mobile phone. Rafiq, is there any confirmation on that, about the duty officer allowing them to go to town?
The duty officer in the report, they are not yet dealt with him. They have also stated categorically that what they have done is without prejudice, and so they are expected to continue his trial today. And so, but all the officers who were on duty that very day, on July 1, Republic Day, brutalities have been disciplined, and so they will continue his hearing today. After that, they will get the final outcome of his issue.
Now, of the people who were directly affected, at least 11 of them, we know of those who have been hospitalized and all of that, but there's said to have been the loss of some mobile phones, about 13 mobile phones. A tricycle was seized, a sum of 1,460 Ghana cedis. What are the details on these, items, and have the owners got them back?
Let me make a little bit of a correction here. The money involved is 1,460, and this money belonged to 3 persons, 3 different people. They haven't yet received any money from the sum that is being alleged to have been missing. But as for the 30 mobile phones, they've been able to get 7 of them, and they have been given to their owners. And the tricycle motor also has been retrieved and is also given to the owner.
Well, let's hold it for here now and interact as well with Adam Bona. I'll be coming back to you, Rafiq, as we conclude on what to expect ahead of today. as the committee continues sitting. Mr. Bonai, very good morning to you. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. And good morning to my brother, Rafiq Salam.
Great. Since we've already started from the angle of what has transpired in the Kano Ayorogo committee, I'd like to find out from you what your take is so far on its work and the punishments that have been meted out to some of the military officers who were involved in the incident that day.
Well, I must say that has been swift. I must congratulate the military's early days yet to start celebrating. But I, didn't have any doubt in my mind, knowing who the defense minister is and knowing those, under him, the CDS and the rest. I knew very well that these rogue officers who went into town to brutalize my people in the Upper West were definitely going to be punished severely. So I am not surprised if what Rafiq is telling us and what I have picked up from my sources within the military and my sources within the region is anything to go by, then I'm definitely sure that as the defense minister promised in parliament, anyone who is found culpable will be punished. I am expecting that at least there will be some dismissals. We've already heard about demotions, but I think that the military is supposed to be one of the most respected institutions all over the world. And if you know the performance of our military when they go for international peacekeeping operations, they are usually, mentioned in a manner that is gratifying. And so to have them, especially, finishing their recruitment training and sent to the Upper West region, and the Upper West region, military in the Upper West region, they haven't been there for too long. And so the setup is still ongoing. And so to have them there in less than 4 days or 4 days, and they're going into town because of a missing mobile phone, and for a duty officer who I suppose is supposed to be of a higher rank than this, new recruits, giving them permission instead of going through their own processes. The military have rigorous processes. And these processes is not only limited to this country. It is all over the world. And so you just don't send officers in uniform and ask them, go into town, go and look for your mobile phone. When you could have, maybe they have the military police. They have processes you go through if these things happen. They could have, informed the police if at all they didn't have the military police there, which I suppose they should. But to send them into town, what were you expecting? So I am believing, and I am happy to hear that already there are stiffer punishment for those who were involved in. We want to see more so that it sends, some shivers through the spine of all officers who are fond of doing these things to citizens, in this country.
Before I pose my very next question to you, let me quickly acknowledge the presence of Martin Kwebu, who joins the conversation. Mr. Kwebu, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Akaku.
Thank you so much. Hi. Thank you for joining the conversation. I'll be crossing over to you shortly, Mr. Kwebu, but back to you, Adam Bona. Now, very briefly, I know that you gave your rating on the Ejura committee, the Kumsin committee. We've not got there yet. We'll be getting there shortly. But what would be your rating, so to speak, of the WA committee, if you like, the Kano Ayorogo committee so far, looking at the work and the punishments meted out, what progress they've made? What would be your rating of that committee's work?
Oh, I would give them an 8 out of 10. I must confess, because it looks like they are doing some real work in the Upper West region. They seem to be doing real work. And as you can see, tension has, calmed down. Those who were worried and thought that no punishment would be meted out to these rogue officers are revising their notes. And so the Ayorogo committee, I'll give them 8 out of 10. And I'm hoping that they maintain what they are doing and get everyone who is involved punished severely so that, those who are affected in the Upper West, especially I hear they are likely to be compensated also. They get compensated and these officers punished. The military shouldn't be doing this to my people in the Upper West, not at all.
Right. So do you maintain your stance of 2/10, like I heard you say some days back, as far as the EDRA committee is concerned? Just briefly.
Yes, day one I gave them 2/10. Day two I did 4 out of 10, and you know, we will be monitoring today to see. I haven't been too pleased with some of the questionings and some of the things, but I do believe that as they progress, they are likely to, you know, find their feet. They are likely to, because I see them more of trying to find excuses for the inactions of authorities who are supposed to know better. You can see yesterday, for instance, they went again out into town, lambasting the media and allowing respondents, instead of admitting that they should have known better and should have done the best, blaming the media. They allowed some officers to, criticize some of us who speak in the area of security, when he himself, Vladimir Nchidanso, is one of us. And when that officer, the deputy regional commander, made those comments about, disparaging comments about those who speak in the area of security, quickly you found Nchidanso saying that, well, that is why he doesn't want to be called. But if you heard from the Minister of Interior, he said one of the reasons why they put you and Nchidanso in that committee is because you are a security expert and you are a security analyst. You didn't have the balls to tell the Minister of Interior that you are not a security analyst, you are not a security expert. So you allow him, you took those accolades from the Interior Minister. Yet when that officer who failed to perform and allowed people to be killed in Ejura came to say, oh, security analysts are one of the reasons, said so-called security analysts are one of the reasons why, people became, violent. You quickly said, oh, that is why you don't want to be called. When you do that, for me, I just think that some of us were happy to find him there because he's one of our colleagues and we knew that he was going to ensure that the facts come out. But for him to allow all these excuses, and he has joined in the excuses, making excuses and blaming the media, making excuses and blaming security analysts and experts. And I find that worrying, because that is not why they are put there. That is non-substantial. The substance is that people have been killed. The district police commander in Ejura did allude to the fact that he did not make any requests for the military. He only asked for reinforcement. And so if he only asked for reinforcement, who did the assessment? Did they ask him the type of reinforcement? They only sent in the military. These are the lapses. How do you say they were going to burn the police station, and yet you didn't send in the fire tender? How do you say these people were going to be violent, yet you didn't send in ambulance? You saw one of the officers who shielded Erastus getting shot, and they had to drag him, literally dead, drag him from the road. There were no paramedics there to assist him. So I think that they should move away from the excuses. It shouldn't be called a committee for excuses. It should be a committee to find who killed, what happened, and these people were killed. So, Mr. Kaku, this is what I can say.
All right. I'll be coming back to you shortly. Let me now bring in Martin Kpebu. And you've heard exhaustively quite a lot of what has been happening. The military says the youth shot at them. The soldiers are insinuating that the youth shot at them. It's been said by the general officer commanding that they returned fire for fire. If I may quote here, we have DCOP David Ajimana Jim, who testified yesterday, who also says that, in fact, he heard sounds of a pump-action gun being used. He did not see it, but he says he heard it. These are some of the matters that have come up. The media has also been taken on ferociously at the committee level. What is your reflection so far on the happenings or in the committee in Ejura, or at least on the back of happenings in Ejura, and that of WA as well? You can lump them together.
Okay, so on the matter of Ejura, I should say that the comment by the DCOP Well, you know, the story is still unraveling. So we cannot be conclusive as to whether the youth really shot any guns, okay? Yes, because you remember even a member of the committee, Madam Amwa, Juliet Amwa, asked him if they had found any shell casings and etc. to show that the cartridges, to show that the youth fired any arms. And the DCOP said no, they hadn't. So for now, I don't want to base much on it. Let's return to some of the fundamental issues, okay, arising from what's happened so far. And look, let's be candid with viewers that since those who have appeared, the witnesses so far can be recalled, nothing we are saying here that's on this program is conclusive until the commission finishes this report. Ordinarily, would have said we should keep quiet till they finish. But things in the nature of public interest matters, when the public comments, it helps to shape the rest of the inquiry. That's how come I'll comment. Otherwise, ordinarily, I would have kept quiet. So now the fundamental issue that I have seen, okay, so far is that quite clearly, look, there was no proper plan in place to deal with this issue. I say so because the minister has been very clear in his mind, and the DCOP also confirmed that they got the intelligence the night before. So far, if you say night, minimum from 9 up to about 2 p.m. when the this demonstration leading to the shooting took place, you have at least 15 hours. We have at least 15 hours to prepare. Now, so what was the preparation? You see that the DCOP says they first dispatched the divisional, those from the division in Mampong, to go and help. And then later, before they brought in the military, it didn't show any coordination, because if the threat was really that high, what I expected was that by morning, you would have all these people in town, at least, of course.
A bit of a struggle there with the connection as far as Martin Kpebu is concerned. As and when we reconnect with him, we'll give him the opportunity to sum up those comments he was making. Martin Kpebu, thank you for staying with us. So you were making a comment. We missed the tail of that. Could you rehash it?
Yes, my comment is that not enough men were deployed. That much is clear. Not enough men were deployed, and it wasn't coordinated. So not enough men. You see, the DCOP mentions that they sent people from formed police units and then the school. So far, the question is that, are these persons trained for crowd control? So far, I've not seen the police showing us to what extent they sent the best of their best for crowd control to Ejura. You say, and then number two, it doesn't appear these were enough men. They sent 10 soldiers from the section. You see the Lieutenant Colonel Owari. He said when the 10 soldiers got in there, 3 of them stayed back at the police station, and then 7 went into town. So these numbers, so the point I'm making is that all together, these were not enough men. No wonder such things would happen, because you said you brought in 7 soldiers to come into town to face the crowd. Is it possible that because they were just 7, they panicked when they saw the youth who outnumbered them? You see, you look at it again, 7 soldiers as against the youth that we saw. Could it be that as the numbers were more, these soldiers panicked? That's why they shot to kill? You look at it, it's possible. So looking at the whole, the thrust of my submission is that if you look at the time we got the intelligence, not enough preparation was done. And as I've said, where are the best of the best from the police service for crowd control? So far, if you tell me SWAT, I don't understand that SWAT is for crowd control, and etc. You say it. So maybe we need clarifications on that level. And then more fundamentally, this Ethiopia Ajim, he said prior to that, in the last 1 year, they've had 3 clashes with the youth in Nigeria. They have had 3 clashes with the youth in Nigeria. Straight away, my mind went to the Peace Council. So if you see you have tensions between police and youth, I think this is one of the issues that could be directed to the Peace Council to come in to help resolve. You know, the Peace Council is not only in Accra. There's a district Peace Council, the regional, before the national one. So this is something that they should have been engaging the youth to help resolve it. Because so far, from what we hear, the youth are usually not happy about the police because they say matters don't get resolved quickly. So at least there should have been some engagements, more education, more education, more education. But we don't see that angle. It just looks like, okay, look, these are youth who in the last 1 year have challenged the police on 3 occasions. Okay, so this time if they try it, we just send in the military and the military will teach them a lesson. And that was confirmed by the Lieutenant Colonel Owari. He said, when you bring in the soldiers, it means that the police had tried and it wasn't working. So when the soldiers come in, they increase the force. That's why he said that when soldiers come in, they increase the force used. So you see the underlying problem.
Right.
Because police felt that on 3 occasions in the last 1 year, these youth in Nigeria have not comported themselves well. They have been a thorn in the flesh of the police. So this time round, okay, we will bring in the soldiers to teach you a lesson. That much, I think, is fair. As I've said, as of this stage, until they come back and clarify or until we hear other witnesses, these are preliminary comments. They are not conclusive.
Right. Let me also touch on the bit about, and you did make mention of the numbers and whether the military men there, the 7 of them had been, you know, seen quite a threat, for which reason some shots were fired. We heard from DSP Philip Hammond, the commanding officer, the district commanding officer, who said that there were between 600 and 800 protesters. So who knows what the numbers could have been. But my question to you now has to do with the media. If you look at what DCOP David Ajimanajim has been saying, for example, he claims that the media created needless tension on the issue, that it wasn't what the picture we painted wasn't really what happened. We've all seen the videos, of course. We've heard from Kennedy Japong, Member of Parliament for Asin Central, who is also suggesting that we are culpable in a way, and that if there will be any chaos in this country, if that there will be war in Ghana, then it will be on the back of the media, whether mainstream or social media. How do you react to some of these developments, which some have called attacks on the media?
Ben, it's normal in a democracy. You see, our democracy is young, so it's normal that people who don't understand how the media works would say so. But the good thing too about it is that when it happens, it will also cause the media to do some introspection. From where so far, I don't know the basis for the attack. To be candid, what I heard was that so some stations, including your station, had shown that Kaka was a member of Fix the Country a campaign group, right? So why don't we do this? Ernesto Yeboah had mentioned, I'd heard him on some stations, that the man was a member. So why don't we bring in Ernesto Yeboah to, also testify? And then most especially, I understand if you go to Facebook, you will see Kaka's posts, several posts that he's made. He will show an uncompleted project, then he will say they should fix it. The regional minister himself has said that Kaka is always interested in the development of Ejura, so he's an advocate for development, okay? So why don't we go into Facebook and bring down all these posts, bring Ernesto Yeboah and Co in to testify, and then we move forward, you see? Because for me, that's why I see it. It shouldn't just be a blanket attack just because it appears he was said to be a member of Fix the Country campaign group, but it doesn't appear so anymore. But I understand there are Facebook posts on that. The regional minister himself has confirmed that the Kaka is an activist advocating for development in Nigeria. And is that not what Fix the Country this campaign group is working on? They are advocating to give opportunities to everybody, among others. So you see that there is some similarity in the causes, even if he didn't appear to be a former member. So let's just go into it. Let's investigate it rather than just attacking the media. But, you know, these are things in the nature of a democracy. It's to be expected that as the media criticizes others, sure, they will also be the target of criticism from other sections of our society.
Let me move on now to Adam Bona. And I know, Rafiq, you're still with us. I'll be crossing over to you after I speak to Adam Bona. In respect of the Ejura clash, the military has come out to say that the aim was not to kill. The aim was clearly not to kill. But as the general officer commanding has also been saying, they returned fire for fire. What is your take on that matter in terms of proportionality and in terms of the deaths that we've seen, Adam Bona?
Well, yes, I must say, well, it looks like that. The aim was not to kill because he wasn't there. You know, some of his men were there. And as far as I'm concerned, the statement or the response that some members in the crowd fired, I don't know whether that is an afterthought. I am saying I don't know whether that was an afterthought because he went on, the military officer went on to say that they actually have arrested 2 persons with firearms. Then when they asked him any spent shells, he said no. You remember when the incident happened, the Ashanti Regional PRO had a presser. And in that presser, when your colleagues in the media asked him, you know, before their cameras, have you arrested any protester? He said, no, we have not arrested anybody. Then he went on to say that we haven't arrested anybody, but we are going to, you know, go on our investigations to arrest. So at what point did they arrest these persons who they are purporting to have firearms, who use the firearms on them? And that elicited or that, you know, made them respond fire for fire. As far as I'm concerned, I would not want to take that, you know, in its entirety, especially if you know, where this is coming from. Once again, in the Ashanti region, as once 7, we saw 7 able men killed in a very gory manner. Then we saw, you know, M16s, we saw, you know, powerful rifles, automatic, semi-automatic rifles, and several ammo put by them, and we were told that these were the firearms they used on the police officers, and the police officers killed them. Later on, investigation by the committee put up, cleared them and said these people didn't have no firearms, they were no threat to the officers, so the officers just killed them. And so it is early days yet, but I am waiting to hear, to see the committee's report with regards to the inconsistencies. If you notice, the regional minister on day 1 actually said he called the lieutenant colonel, the infantry boss in Kumasi, and the commanding officer, the CEO, Afo, actually said the regional minister called him. Then somewhere along the line, another inconsistency, they said what? The police called them. Now the district police commander The district police commander, he's in charge of the district in terms of internal security. He says, I did not call the military. I called for reinforcements. So whoever sent in the military, did the person ask him, what type of reinforcements do you want? Do you want military police reinforcement? Or do you want us to bring you the form police unit, a more advanced form police unit with not just a water cannon, or, but to come with all the tear gas and all that. And if you, Martin Pebu did allude to the fact that they picked intel about 24 hours or so before the incident, at least more than 12 hours before the incident. If you know Kumasi to Ejura, I know Ejura very well. Kumasi to Ejura, on a good day, you could do that by, 1 hour, 20 minutes, 1 hour, 30 minutes. And so if they picked this intel, what stopped them from sending in an advanced, more improved form police unit with all the equipment, riot gear, to go in there to ensure that there were no deaths? But let me put out there that some of us, when Kaka died, I think one of your media stations or some media stations who spoke to me, some of us started giving them that early, warning, early sign warning, telling them that this man who has died is a member of the Zongo community. And if you know how my brothers and sisters in the Zongo communities live, you touch one, you touch everybody. So obviously there'll be reprisal attacks. So let's send in the chief imam. Let's send in the clergy. Let's make sure opinion leaders, the ministers, all of you should go there and start dialoguing. Dialogue should be the way to go. Unfortunately, sometimes we say these things, no one pays attention. And what some of us were fearing would happen is what exactly happened. And, they were more reactive instead of being proactive. There were no fire tenders there, even though they picked intel that the police station was going to be burnt. There were no, paramedics there. So for me, a lot of things have gone wrong, and that is why probably we are having this conversation.
Right. Before I come to you, Martin, and back to you, Bona, for your concluding comments, at least that last bit there, that the security apparatus was reactive rather than proactive. Rafiq Salam, if you're still with us, if you can hear me, walk us through what to expect today as far as the Kano Ayorogo committee's work is concerned. What should we expect today, Enwa?
Today, the information that I have gleaned on, it looks like they will be at the Upper Senior Coordinating Council this morning to speak to more victims, more witnesses. They also, after that, they will get back to the 10 Mechanized Battalion Agri Barracks and then to speak to the remaining soldiers. Our information also is indicating that they have also visited the crime scene, the scene of the incident, with some of the victims and some of the witnesses to try to corroborate their stories. And so basically today, they will be at the Upper Senior Coordinating Council, room number 36. And then after which they will visit the barracks to speak to more of the young soldiers. But before I also take leave of you, because the people are not really happy about the way things are going, they also stating that they will prefer that this investigation is also not heard in camera. They will have loved it to be public. And then
when you say the people, just to clarify, Rafiq, when you say the people, is it the people of the Upper West, or is it those specifically
the
affected
people of
by
the
what
Upper
happened?
West region? They want it to go public. They will have been seeing what is really happening, and because they are thinking is that things like this has happened before. Things like this has happened before, and then they have not been paid heed to. Before the incident, 3 days before the incident happened, there was this allegation of some army officers who went to Wuchao in the West capital and beat up a Wosumbe operator.
Yes.
After they finished washing their car, and so it was not reported. And so they think that things like that are happening, and they cannot forget or forgive unless justice has taken its course, for the chain of permanent impunity has been broken for unconscionable crimes such as this.
Rafiq Salam, we shall stay in touch with you, but thank you for now for joining us on this beat. Keep doing the good work you have been doing. Let me wrap up with Martin Kpebu and Adam Bona. Starting with you, Martin. So what are your expectations ahead of today's committee sitting in Idra? We've heard from the National Security Minister, for example, who says that we should proceed cautiously when it comes to any assumptions we are making. For example, that Kaka was said to be a member of the NDC initially. Now he's been confirmed to be a member of the MPP and all of that. So we should proceed very cautiously and not draw any hasty conclusions. You can add that to your concluding remarks, Mr. Kpebu.
Naturally, it's a good call, because in matters like this, you remember earlier on I said ordinarily I wouldn't have even commented. But from experience, we've seen that as we give commentary alongside the sittings of the inquiry, it helps, because you see, it's not possible. The world has changed. You cannot totally keep quiet for the 10 days. No, some commentary will be made, and you never know. Out of the commentary, the committee may see a point or two, because it is in the nature of human beings. We are not perfect. So when you are in the saddle, sometimes you need people to criticize the work. And then through that, it will pull them into higher gear. So to the extent of all of this, one thing is clear, that as for the commentary, it cannot cease totally, but it must proceed with a lot of circumspection. That's why even before you brought in this comment, you remember I made the point earlier that these are preliminary comments. A committee is still sitting. We may get more clarifications as time goes on. So it's a fair comment. And then let me quickly add this. You see, so far, yesterday, the commander of the Central Command, Brigadier General Joseph Apo, you could see he mentioned that he was not at the scene. Then the commander in charge of Ashanti region, that's the Lieutenant Colonel Owari, he also wasn't in charge, right? We are now waiting for the field commander, that is to say the one who was actually on the ground on the day. I've been wondering whether in these matters, we shouldn't start with him, because he was the one really on the ground. Mm-hmm. So you see that my good friend Adam Bona was talking about the inconsistencies and the rest. You see, these two senior officers have stated categorically that they weren't in charge. So the apparent inconsistencies are bound to happen. So maybe moving forward, we should be looking at perhaps bringing those who are directly in charge. Then later, for policy and all those, then we bring the senior officers.
Right.
You see?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Mr. Kpebu, thank you so much. We're immensely grateful for your time, for your taking the time to join us this morning. Let me wrap with you, Adam Bona. Your expectations ahead of today's Idra committee sitting?
Yes, quickly. For why I obviously agree. It would have been good to have a televised public, inquiry in WA, so that we all will be witnesses to whatever they are going to delve into. But I think that so far so good. I am, somehow satisfied with what I've heard and what I've picked. But with regards to today's proceedings, I would want to see a significant shift from, day 1 and 2. I'm saying this because if you heard my brother Martin Kpebu, as he said, I was expecting them to have a tall list of people they were going to invite, so that these people would be pre-informed. But it looks like somehow the committee seems to be a bit reactionary. Yesterday, you heard the committee chairman say, "Oh, where is this person? Is he around? Okay, you are talking at the background. Can you come into it?" I think that to me wasn't the best. It would have been good to pencil down each and every one who is going to come. That way, if they had, let's say, 100 people to appear before the committee, they would prioritize and say policymakers, either they would appear first, technocrats would come in the middle, and in that manner. But unfortunately, it looks more like Frefre Kobo, where once you're available, come and sit, let's interrogate you. When that happens, we might not get the full fact, but let's give them that benefit of the doubt. I have, I'm very optimistic and believe that, we would get something out of this, committee. If they begin to push harder, we are likely to get something out of the committee.
Thank you very much, Adam Bona, for joining the conversation. And I'd like to say a big thank you to Rafiq Salam, our Upper West Regional Correspondent, Adam Bona, who just spoke, a security analyst, and Martin Kwebu, a lawyer. Ghana 4, this is how far we've come on this matter. In the coming days, we shall see what progress will be made by the respective committees. But coming up next on the AM show, it's all about the Joy Clean Ghana campaign. On Wednesday, they clamped down on illegal public toilets within the Jamestown community. Manuel Kranting, my colleague, was with the team, and here's his report.
Accra Metropolitan Assembly building regulations states is very clear. Anybody who wants to put up a house, part of your drawings that you are going to submit to the planning committee, provision of toilet facility is embedded into your drawings. So there's no reason for any landlord to give out that he has
Head of the Environmental Health Unit at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Joseph Asitanga, detailing the public health regulations on the siting and operations of public toilets within the city of Accra. Per the Assembly's bylaws, all residential buildings must necessarily have dedicated toilet facilities. But the reality on the ground, at least as observed by team members of the Joy Clean Ghana campaign, is different.
Oh, toilet was so serious. Beko me ni na wa serious. E wanya nga. E na clack ya ensuo mra na ensuo to ehu pa. Ehu. In fact, say say o ma be ma o moye. Because ye na ma na nananom. Untimi hu say na da say ensuo beto say be si ba bibia betumi asi. Enti say ma ba mu de na moye.
So she's been telling me that, well, it's indeed a risk to them, but they are left with the death trap. But that's all they have. Madam, I can't know ya.
Over no ya.
Besana ya no here. Baby na ya no. Ofa pioshika, hello.
Ofa no pioshika. She most man me toilet machine. Beni wo like toilet ne yo come nyame pe. No ma me ha ni me na ma me ta toilet. Ma me na shika na me ka fe mini. Ameke sa toilet. No toilet me to me na ka me toilet me to mo na fe mini. Asa she ya no bi ya no. Ile wa so no ni ba nya fe mini ba. She mo ka sa no mo no ba ya me no pe. I right akesha sa na gbla bo no ba pe. I sha me pe toilet machine. Ka me pioshika ba na shika ka ba fe mini. Akesa mo bi titri. No ya ni gbo wa ma me pe toilet.
Ona go toilet come around si ni me fa wo lai baba o ka ba fe ni mo na afi lawyer mu le ka fe lawyer what me go lo ba wa rubber mi because be what me go o pure feel she say o ba pe agbo
akanya pure feel because afi no hin ni ya atenya feel o ten
no hin o manager dan o ba je mi cent ni o ye I feel like I do spray. Oh, and then Baba me a Jew about to show Baba because Jew Badon, like all Jew no ban toilet in Ponyoba, like all bad toilet center about more.
Oh, but Asa couldn't yet, no, ya, Moabo. Cassa, never pay more.
I got about pay more. And Yagas and Asamu.
What mean on nearby, no, your honey will be a Asa.
I know some majority carry the vote.
Honorable, like Abasa, ni Shishije, Assemblyman sent by Assemblyman, my name, Lady Shishije. Toilet test, Kakadibina, you want to see true Assemblyman anybody for the past 4 years. And they, you know, even modern Boaskakun and they Sky, Abinas now. Jacamo Femonos will know you, that's a account no more bamboo. Kono Abinas now. Jacakaskaji, look on my film, Akbasa toilet. Si for now, friend, one now look at the other toilet abasa. Me toilet in your Nesabita for the call bought a toilet, no Japu, Sabita, but I feel like I can wait chop me. Ajibuka Jimmy. Ni a Jinogode, huh? high like my name, titri wa ye, sebi taplache, ham a white, Ujubadianche. Tell you, Wanaka, you okay, you know, Baga in a white, Imbeka, the toilet, a la bibi come, a Pulukai can be come, I'm a Cambashian.
People are forced to patronize highly insanitary public toilet facilities operating illegally. The AMA has been clamping down on these illegal public toilets, sometimes amidst agitation from the operators.
There are people who are going to who be going to toilet without a scribe. They cannot go and do that.
It is wrong. It's because the toilet is smelling.
No, it's your toilet. It's your toilet not smelling.
That is why.
There is no any other toilet which that don't smell.
What are you saying?
But this will not be allowed to continue.
We can. Oh, sure no.
Again, no, again.
Mosquitoes here. It's just breeding mosquitoes. This tank, we are supposed to wash it, clean inside, and restore the water. It doesn't mean that because you use it to flush the toilet, the condition of the water should just be left how it is. Because we're trying to control malaria, prevent malaria. Malaria comes as a result of mosquitoes. So if you are breeding mosquitoes within your commercial place, we cannot allow that. So this tank, you are supposed to clear the water, clean it once in a while, and then restore the water. So we'll serve you a letter to that effect. And look at here, this one. You can imagine what is here, what I'm saying. Back where? Back. You see, and you still connect this into. So this is what you do here, isn't it? Who do you call inside? Okay, so you call inside my coffee.
Obele wonyeke wo sakem nyeke hweshi ni womba ni nyina ke womba dan ni agbeni nyeba ha ne ken efi wo shika okwe ejini papa ta frache akenye nyeke wani ami ni kaji bola lorry ba ne ba loke ya ni shile boni yo ni ta frache adidon ke ni bi fe nsomo no moko ni yo tun se e hon ye ni ejeme ene me fe ya e ya so no e ke helaba amambi ewo nyenye no page ake nye henye shika shi gbajia no to ke gbena ni sa ke hanu chumo nye fe gbelemo wono how can you keep
And this is where they keep the anal cleansing agents. Well, how long has this been like being in there?
Well, you know, na
you know, that's yesterday.
Yeah, on a all she no calling you for film. That be often that. On a second, you get film. She often any that be any on a second. Careful, no, not a woman.
With this alone, we have to prosecute. We'll take you to. With this alone, we'll prosecute him because he is breeding and harboring infectious material. This is very, very infectious. Likely to the breeding of flies here is serious. Okay, the stench alone that is emanating here to the neighborhood is not allowed. And this alone even said, those who smoke, if somebody come to smoke and then fire lit this, the whole community is going to be exposed to fire risk. Is it not true? It's true. And you know, why do you do it? So, Sam, I'm going to prosecute him for what is here. The nuisance is something he himself deliberately admitted that what he is doing is wrong. So once you know that what you are doing is wrong, we'll prosecute you. So Sam, we have to serve him a letter. Yes, we'll serve you a letter, take you to court on this particular issue.
This public toilet facility is located in the heart of Jamestown, within a 500-meter radius with the Bank of Ghana building, Supreme Court complex, and the Makola Market. PRO of the AMA, Gilbert Ankra, says government has reintroduced the Gamma Sanitation Project to assist households get dedicated toilet facilities.
As much as efforts are being put in place to ensure that households within the city, especially households without toilet facility, they get one within their premises, is concerned. The Assembly has done a lot, and we appreciate the fact that there is more to be done. As I speak to you now, since the inception of the Gamma Sanitation Project, the Assembly has so far constructed over 4,200 household toilet facilities for people within its catchment area. We've constructed 25 institutional
toilet sanitation facilities as well for some institutions. We've also constructed some for the community. We've had the Zongo ministry also supporting us to construct some. So a lot is happening within that space to ensure that we provide some household toilet facilities that then discourage people from moving into the various public places of convenience. That is why Gamma project ended this year. Thankfully, the project has been renewed, and we want to use this opportunity to let households who still don't have toilet facilities to approach the assembly, and then we would ensure that we hook them up to proper places of convenience.
As this call is sounded, there are so many more people who go every day without access to a basic need like proper toilet facilities within the city of Accra. For JoyNews, Manuel Cranting.
Well, from the Joy Clean Ghana campaign, we talk now about business registration. And Joy Business is hosting a one-day seminar to educate citizens. Head of Joy Business, Odelia Ntiamwa, who will also moderate the session, explains how you can be part of the discourse. She joins me now, Odelia Ntiamwa, via Zoom. A very good morning to you, Odelia.
Hi, good morning.
It's refreshing to hear your voice. Now, this is one thorny area, isn't it? Business registration, and there are so many modalities. So tell us about what we expect in the course of this event.
Okay, so our expectation is that people on social media should be able to get some business education. Remember that millennials are actually the people that you will find on social media a lot. And these people usually are trying to set up a business. Most of them want to go into entrepreneurship, but they've got to just do it the right way. And that will mean that they will have to go through the route of business registration. Now, if they have to do business registration, then they will have to get it from the horse's own mouth. And so we decided to put together this program to be able to get the Registrar General explain to people who want to go through the business registration process exactly what they should be doing when they are registering their business. And if they have already done that, you know that also the business registration at Registrar General is actually going digital. And so if you haven't migrated your business information to the digital platform, very soon you may be losing your business registration. She's talked about it several times, but we want her to re-echo it again. And then also, you also know that the Registrar General became the receiver for certain financial institutions during the financial sector cleanup. The cleanup is actually, the receivership that is being done by the Registrar General. Payments will be going through 2 phases. Phase 1 has certain categories of people and what they are supposed to be getting. Then phase 2 will require that the monies are deposited and then withdrawals are made in a very staggered way. A lot of people are saying that, yes, this has gone on, but we haven't received our money. This is the process that we would want to know about and all that. And once the Registrar General is talking about business registration, why not? We are definitely interested in issues relating to the receivership. And so we would like the Registrar General, Jemima Owari, to also really talk about that. So basically, these are the 2 conversations we'll be having with the Registrar General. We'll actually be opening up in terms of people who want to ask questions through my Joy Online, through also all our social media platforms, to send their questions either in advance. I started receiving questions from LinkedIn when I put the poster out on registration. And so if you have questions that you need to ask the Registrar General, just send your questions onto the Joy Business platforms or personally to me on LinkedIn or Facebook. And then also we will use my Joy Online platforms as well.
Okay, Odelia, so I was going to ask about how, the youth out there and young people with startups and all of that who would want to connect can do so. And you've already started touching on that. You mentioned your social media handles, of course, Joy social media handles as well. Maybe you could elaborate further on your social media handles so that people know where to send the questions to on social media. You could just highlight those for us.
Yeah, so if you are on Facebook, we're Joy Business GH, you can find Joy Business there. You will see the flyer. You can put your questions under the flyer. On LinkedIn, we're Joy Business Ghana. You can also send your questions there. Joy Business has those two handles. Then my personal handles is Odelia Ntiamoa on Odelia Ntiamoa on Facebook, on LinkedIn. I also do these two platforms. So you can send your questions in advance. Or if you also want to send your questions via WhatsApp, is 0244 604224.
Okay, so 0244 604224.
Yes.
Right. That is the number you can actually share your thoughts on. Finally, what are the timelines that people ought to look forward to as far as this seminar is concerned?
Okay, so we're putting this together today at 5:30 p.m. and it's closing at 6:30. It's a 1-hour session. We will have first 30 minutes.
Well, unfortunately,
we will have the first 30 minutes with the Registrar General, and then we will go ahead to have 30 minutes of a Q&A.
Well, Odelia, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. And we're all going to be joining to get those insights into business registration. Odelia Ntiamoa, my colleague who joined us from Joy Business. And it's all about that seminar that comes off today. So be a part of it. Now, let me just let you know that up next on the AM show, we're going to be having a discourse with the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Henry Quartey. He's been in the limelight, the spotlight, I should say, in recent times on the back of making Accra work and also making Accra clean. We're going to be joining him from the studios of Joy 99.7 FM as my colleagues there discourse with him on some of what has been happening in recent times and what the way forward is. So we hand over to the crew from Joy 99.7 FM as they discourse with the Greater Accra Regional Minister. Now, though, let's cross over to my colleague, Kojo Yankson, who is all the way in Agbogbloshy, and that's because he's discoursing with the Greater Accra Regional Minister. Let's listen.
Sellers until this road, where the proper onion trade began, from that road all the way through here, as far as your eyes can see, onion sellers interspersed with carpenters, spare parts dealers, all kinds of wheelers and dealers were set up here in shacks and huts, selling hour by hour to the people of Accra and supplying in bulk to people who were traveling to other parts of the country. This market was notorious for the traffic that it created on this road I'm standing on. As far as the eye can see in this direction, there was traffic, cars and trucks parked here to buy from the onion sellers. Now, at the end of this road is Aboseokai. From that point onwards, traffic was impossible. If you were trying to get to Accra Central through here to Jamestown, forget it. It would take you all day. But now look, absolutely nothing. All of these traders, hundreds of them, thousands of shacks and huts, have all been cleared from here. All of them gone. And this is the work of one man. That's the man we're meeting today. And I want us to walk rather quickly as we catch up with him, because as usual, he is ahead of the pack. I'm talking, of course, about the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Henry Quartey. Today I'm going to spend time with him. If you're listening to us live on Joy 99.7 FM, thank you for joining us. And of course, thank you for watching us on the AM show. Now, we're going to be here for quite a while, getting to know Mr. Henry Quartey, getting to understand the reason why he, for the very first time, seems to be succeeding at doing what none of his predecessors have been able to do, bringing order to the chaos that is Accra. Now, Accra is a city that unfortunately has not benefited from planning. When I say it has not benefited from planning, what I mean is that people tend to do what they like. People set up where they like, sell what they like, build what they like, and the citizens are forced to live with the consequences. Traffic is crazy in Accra. Congestion is impossible in Accra. And this is because nobody sticks to the plan. Nobody follows the rules. Well, Henry Quartey has decided that that ends now. And he seems to be doing a rather impressive job of bringing order. All these onion sellers have been relocated. They used to ply their trade here on a daily basis. You would find them here on every inch of this land we are now walking freely on. You would find them here selling all day long, creating traffic along this main road, which leads to Aboseokai. But now they're all gone. And it's Henry Quartey who moved them. So just take a look around, left, right. Look at the expanse of land that is now suddenly free because the Greater Accra Regional Minister decided that it should be so. Now, when he started, there was a lot of doubt. People thought that this would be a one-day wonder. But months into his tenure, we see that he continues to achieve these results wherever he goes. The Medina stretch is one of the first places where he chalked success in ensuring that congestion is cleared and traffic can move smoothly. He got rid of all of the traders on the sides of the road that caused traffic at Medina. And today, if you're traveling towards Ibri, it's a breeze. That's all thanks to him. You can see him in white, standing with his team, observing the work that is being done. And today we're going to learn as much as we can from him about that work and why he seems to be succeeding where others have failed. Greater Accra Regional Minister Henry Quartey, thank you for your time and good morning.
Thank you. And good morning to your cherished viewers and listeners as well.
Thank you. Mr. Quartey, this is unrecognizable. When you came here first and saw miles and miles of shacks and huts and traders and dealers, were you able to foresee that you could possibly achieve this result in such a short time?
Well, I thought, yes, I had a plan. Yes, the plan has to be executed. But how can that plan be executed to the fullest was the question that kept going through my mind. But then, having started a few exercises around the capital, or in the capital you can say, and with the kind of commendations that we were getting as a ministry, and I say this because it is not Henry Quartey, it's a teamwork. And so I have a team, I have a security and intelligence agencies that are working, so I don't claim the the credit for myself. But then the major challenge was, okay, so this whole exercise is not new. It started right from President Rawlings's time. May his soul rest in perfect peace, actually. Then came President Kufuor. Then came President John Atta Mills. May he rest in peace as well. Then came President John Mahama. Then we have President Akufo-Addo. Now, it is not to say that this exercise has not been done before, or has not been, nobody has attempted it, rather. But any time this attempt is made, somebody, somehow, from the big house, will call and say, hold it right there. So the question that was going through my mind is, okay, how is this going to go? But I was determined to walk the president's talk and to help in fulfilling his promise of making Accra one of the cleanest cities in Africa, as he promised in 2017. So we put a team together, and we had several meetings. That was when we began to hold the stakeholder engagements with those who hitherto used to occupy this place. And I must say that the credit goes to His Excellency the President, because he allowed his regional representative, my good self, a humble servant, to work without any interference. And today this is where we are. So we thank the President indeed for, in fact, even making me the regional minister, giving me the opportunity to serve in his government. Alone is enough.
So I'm gathering from what you've explained that really the difference between what you have done that has resulted in the success so far and what predecessors may have attempted is the fact that you have been allowed to work.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's what it is. The credit goes to the President.
Right. So if at some point, and this is a complete hypothetical because I'm sure you don't expect it to happen, but if at some point an order comes from the presidency that, oh, we've got an election coming up, people are not happy with, what you're doing, put the brakes on.
Well, there's a saying that agrobeswa nefrianopa. Clearly, I haven't had any interferences at all from anybody in the party, the presidency, anywhere. So it tells you that we are on a roadmap. And what it also means is that we should make sure that this whole exercise is done, making sure that we attach the human face to it, making sure it is a win-win situation for all. It cannot be that we just go and remove people because Henry Cote wants to remove people because the presidency is not interfering. But it has to be done strategically so that at the end, the people win, government wins. As it is, government is committed to ensuring that jobs are created. Of course, it's not everybody here who is going to go to 8 to 5 and work. There's a food chain, okay? And people have to make ends meet. So in doing so, we are mindful of the fact that they are also able to make ends meet through their various ways of going to the market to work.
So we've had the same president for over 4 years now. Why do you think this is the time when you're seeing this kind of support from the presidency for this sort of work that you're doing?
Well, I'm trying to understand your question because hitherto I was not a regional minister.
No, but
hitherto I had not embarked on this exercise.
But it is undoubted that hitherto what you are doing had never succeeded. As the regional minister who sought the support of the presidency.
No, I didn't say I sought the support of the presidency. Right. I said there was no interference.
There was no interference.
Very well.
So I guess my question to you is this: do you think that it is because of interference in the past, over the past 4 years, and before that?
I haven't said that. I'm only saying that we have a president who allows you to work. When he gives you, he gives you, or he designates you to represent his interests, he allows you to work. Of course, you should also be mindful of the fact that there's a government policy. So in doing so, you try not to as it were, move away from the government policy. So we have a president who is independent. He doesn't interfere in what ministers do. But of course, you are guided. And I am a regional minister. There are sector ministers. So we should also be careful not to create the impression that Henry Cote is a master of all. No. I only coordinate the implementation of government policies, monitor and evaluate same. There are sector ministers who are cabinet ministers, and they actually interrogate the matters. They actually go to think and decide on the policies that government has to follow. Yes.
Let's talk about this particular spot. So now it's clear. What's the plan for this space?
The plan is, as you can see, I don't know whether you have an area view, or you had an area view of how this place used to be. Well, did you?
No, I'm actually a fairly new resident of Accra, so I didn't have.
Well, I'm not speaking to you as the Joy reporter, but I'm speaking to you as a multimedia person. So your agency should have.
Oh yes, we have seen videos.
Very well.
Yes,
so at least you have an idea how this place used to be. Now, there are few issues that we have to look at. Of the 20 years or more that he occupied here, the question that arises, were they paying utility bills, water bill, electricity bill? And indeed, if they were not, if we try to put figures around it, over the 20 years, how much has it cost government in terms of revenue? That's another one. On the issue of crime, how bad has it been for us? I mean, we have been told reliably when we're here that there's a syndicate here that when cars are stolen, the cars are driven here and they are stripped off and then sold on the markets as spare parts. How many vehicles have gone missing in this country? Who actually aids them to do it? How are they able to go scot-free, I say, without being noticed? This is the base. So you see, there are so many things that have gone on here which has impacted negatively on the economy, even in our lives, as well as people who goes about their normal duties. So this is a major change for us as a people, not governments, as a people. I'm sure you can feel the breeze that is coming. And you go up there and speak to them. I had a message yesterday. Somebody tells me, Henry, thank you very much. Thank the president. For 7 years, I had closed down my business here. 7 years. And if you go there and speak to them one by one, they'll tell you the challenges they've gone through in the last 15 years. It is not fair. So let us look at this positively and see what comes out of it. Then comes your question. Yes, it will be an exercise in futility if a single person returns to this place, and we will not, I repeat, it is not going to happen. Nobody is coming back here. Nobody. We will erect a fence here, be it wire mesh or concrete, and there will be a joint patrol team here, military, police, immigration, fully armed, and they will be here until central government. They have a plan. Central government has a plan. So that will be unveiled to you by the minister, who, the appropriate person, you know. I don't know whether it's the interior minister, it's a defense minister, local government minister, sports minister, who will unveil. But I don't have the locals to do that.
So there is a plan, just not
certainly there is.
Okay, so let's talk about the security arrangements. On our way in here, we were stopped at a couple of checkpoints. You know, IDs were checked before we were allowed to come in. I can see a heavy presence of armed men from the various security services around.
Oh, media men, heavy. What is the definition of heavy here?
Well, if you disagree, I mean, you have the.
Not that I disagree. It's a choice of words. You can say security men around, but when you say heavy, how heavy are they? I mean, let's be very honest.
Well, we counted more than 20 men.
And you think that for an exercise like this, 20 men is heavy? I'm asking you.
Well, we saw 20.
But I'm saying that for an exercise of this nature, do you think that 20 men, you say is heavy?
Well, if you...
No, I'm asking you.
Yes, we thought it was a heavy presence. Not that we thought it's a bad thing.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's do this calculation. You look at the acreage of land here, and I want your cameraman to put it all the way from ICGC, that's the central mosque. We have reclaimed all these lands. Look at it. Now you can see Kolebu even from here, the mortuary. It goes there. Now in doing this exercise, we have experienced some interferences from people who hitherto used to live here. They pelted the security agencies with stones. They blocked the road and they they bent ties and all that. The security man has to approach the matter with all caution and professionalism, and by the grace of God, we're able to manage it. All that they are doing here is to ensure that work here will go on without any interruption. And I think that it's only fair. Having tasted a bit of how they can actually react, it is only fair for them to be armed. So let us not
so it sounds
get
like
the impression that there are heavy security men here. I mean, eventually that will be the headline.
Well, Mr. Korte, it sounds like their heavy presence is justified from what you've explained to us.
No, there are security presence. I think we should look at
just don't want
the
them
word.
to be described as heavy.
What is
fine.
heavy?
That is fine. So talk to us about the arrangement. At the moment, you have, we counted more than 20, and I'm sure there are...
Are we going to depend on counting 20 heavy? Because that's what your headline is going to be.
No, Mr. Korte, I have a question. You're not allowing me to get to it.
I'm not, because I want you to correct that one. I don't want you to create the impression that there are heavy security personnel here.
And I think we've moved on from that.
But you haven't given me the indication that you've understood me.
How can I indicate to you, Mr. Korte, that I understand that you don't want us to call them heavy presence?
You see?
How may I do that?
You see, you are saying, I don't want you to call them. But I'm saying that let us all be on the same page to understand that with the kind of work, the volumes of debris and things that we are moving, and the machines that we are using, knowing that they always come to set things ablaze. We don't want machines to be set on fire, so it is okay to have a few of them here doing the work, that's all.
Very well. So we noted a few military and police and
that is the narrative. That's the narrative.
Services on the premises.
Very well.
Tell us about those arrangements. How long will we have them here, and what is their mandate? What have you asked them to do?
Oh, well, I'm a civilian. Usually when it comes to these issues, they are the experts. They come and do their reconnaissance. And after doing their reconnaissance, there's something called operational order. So they look at the work here, what they need in terms of personnel, logistics, and equipment. And I think that the experts have done so. The numbers, as you can see, have been reduced from what it used to be from the beginning of the exercise. In the beginning, when we came here, there were more. We had fire personnel, we had immigration, we had ambulance, we had all of them, not more, because we came to the scene like going into a disaster scene, you know what I mean, so that you have everything ready. Now that, and most of them were actually to help, to sweep, clean and all that, that's why they were brought in. So they have been, the numbers have been reduced, and every day they continue to reduce the numbers. Now what will happen is that once we secure this place, by way of clearing the debris and all that, which we are hoping that in the next 10 days we'll be able to do so, there will be some men here to be patrolling the place so that we secure it more, and then the fence will come up. Depending on the operational plan that they come up with, whether it's going to be a month or 2 or 3, that's I cannot tell, but the security agencies will be able to determine that, and then the central government will take it from there.
Okay. This is not the first location that you have cleared. You've already been to Medina, where you were able to remove those who were trading along the roads and those who were stopping and parking to pick up passengers. You have now created more of a smooth flow of traffic there. What's the plan for places like that, where perhaps you may not send security services? How do you ensure that what you have achieved there will be sustained?
Well, you would agree with me that in almost all the places that we've been to conduct these exercises, there are assemblies there. And the assemblies are those who are clothed with the powers and to enforce the local bylaws, if you like. So they lead it, the exercise, and then RCC collaborates with them. So it's your question is very simple, and the answer is simple as well. The assemblies led by the MCs are supposed to ensure the sustainability of the interventions that we make. And typical amongst them is what you see at Medina Zongo Junction. We are moving into the 3rd month, I believe, and so far, every day, the MC there tries to do something to improve upon the situation. But that's a short-term measure. We are looking at long-term measures. We will be training our people, and I think it's imperative that we say this. So tomorrow the media will not say we are training people to come and cause trouble. We want to train people that we call the city response team, so that they will augment the work of the police. Because you see, like Medina Zongo Junction, you cannot keep the police there forever. They will have to go and do other things by protecting lives and properties in this country. That is their mandate anyway. So the city response team will help with the management of the traffic and other issues that we think will help in the Let's Make Accra Work agenda.
What's the plan? Where are you going to source people for this team?
Well, because of the exercises, we are going to take them through a very rigorous selection process. We'll do background checks, we'll do fingerprinting, profiling, we'll have to go through the medicals and all that to make sure. And then also psyche them to understand that this is work for the country and not work to harass people, one, not work to actually enrich themselves, two. That is the kind of mentality we want to put in them, so the discipline will be high. And then they will be deployed at strategic places to help make sure that we are able to manage the traffic congestion and other issues that we deem and see as challenging, for that matter, what I call the indiscipline in Greater Accra.
So what's the next place where you are intending to achieve this kind of result?
Well, Agbogboshi itself is a complete package. We have done half of it. Now the next stage, phase 2, is in 3 phases actually. Phase 2 will be to look at the Konkomba yam market. So we'll commence engagement with them, find a place for them, having taken some lessons from this very exercise. We want to ensure that before they are even relocated, the issues of washrooms and all that and mosques does not arise. So those things will be put in place before they move. We are looking at doing that so for them to move by September, middle of October. So you have the entire area from this side cleared. Then you have the old Fadama, as you can see right there. Yeah. There are storey buildings and all that there. So clearly,
that's not going to be an easy task, is it?
Oh, nobody has said so. But the good thing is that they have leadership. They have leadership, and so we will engage them. And it means that the government will have to find land for them somewhere and probably build some, whether it's prefab or whatever, to make sure that they are now being moved from here to a very humane environment, and the operational word is humane environment, where they have access to potable drinking water, washrooms, hospitals, and all that, you know. And so that will be a discussion that I'll be having with the central government, so that their movement, because they are rights, I mean, their movement perhaps will be the smoothest ever in this country, and I pray that that will happen.
How has the resettlement of the onion sellers been going so far?
Well, if I'm to quote one of the optional speeches that they made, I mean, I say optional because they have about 6 or 7 leadership. One of them said in the Hausa, which was translated, that all along they thought this place was good for them, but apparently they were in hell, and this is a quote. But now they know that they are in heaven. I think that sums it up. If they are saying that they were here was hell for them and now they are in heaven, it sums it up. But rather what we want to do is not to get complacent. So the Minister for Sanitation and Sanitation, yes, is visiting them on Tuesday. The local government minister has been there. So we want to try and make the place as comfortable and convenient to do business. So we'll be there. We want to build a mosque for them. We want to, as it were, build washroom facilities for them. Originally, there was a 12.6 acre land, which was meant for the cattle rearers and all that to move in there. But fortunately, because we have been able to find some place for the cattle rearers, we want to turn that 12.6 acre into a lorry park, so that it's a long-term plan, so you don't experience what is happening at Medina Zongo Junction. But if we don't do that, another 5 years, you and I will have to go to Ajin Kotoku, and we have the same problem that we are having today. So the plan is give them a lorry park where all commercial vehicles will be made to go in, offload and load passengers. So strictly, nobody is going to work by the roadside. Then also, they used to have buses here that were loading to a long distance. We give them a space there. You don't want an onion seller who wants to go to Boku or Bolga to move from Ajin Kotoku to Seka before going to Bolga. So those things have been put in place. The engineers and the contractors are busily trying to prepare the land over there. And then, so in the next 3-4 months, every day they are doing something there. And I believe that, as I said, by September or so, it will be a complete package for them. Yeah.
Now, on our way in here, of course, we realized that access to this area is restricted. We were stopped a couple of times. Our ID was checked before we were allowed through the barriers to get into. So what's the idea? Are we restricting access to this road, which leads from Abosilkine all the way to Jamestown area?
Well, alternative routes have been made for them. They are going through the back of Bayema and Litap, and then they connect to Aboboshi. Once we finish with the clearing of the debris, obviously we'll free the place. You see, usually when we allow them to go up and down, with these heavy-duty trucks, you never know what will happen. You know, some of them can fail brakes at any time. So it is just for their own good that we are able to have the free access that you can see now. And then because we are working with time, so they can move the debris within time and then go and come. So very soon we'll free the place.
Is there a timeline for the completion of all this?
Initially, the exercise was supposed to last for 3 days, but we've moved over 150 trucks of debris from here. 150 is an understatement, actually. Probably over 200 or more. The work here is huge. But so it's difficult to put a timeline to it. But we are looking at, say, in the next 10 days, God willing, we'll be able to bring it to an appreciable level where we can now invite the experts. Because of all manner of things that has happened here, you need an expert to come and look at the soil, what has to be done to it, blah, 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 before the urban roads will come in and all that. And the health officials will have to come in here. And that reminds me, we are planning to get the health officials to go to Agbogbloshie and do some health screening for our brothers and sisters who hitherto used to live here. I mean, you've only been here for about an hour. How does it feel like?
Yeah, it's quite a thick smoke, but it's actually
No, apart from the smoke, the stench.
Yeah.
And they've been in this for over 15 years, so it is only proper that we try and do some health screening for them, so that in case, as a result of having been here, they have, there's anything that has to be done for them, the central government will ensure that that is done. Yeah.
Now, at the moment, it looks as if once this road is clear, it will become a very useful path for those who in the past would have avoided it because of all the traffic.
Including yourself?
Well, yes. I would have happily found another way
Very well.
Around. And now that it's clearing up, what's the plan for traffic control? Because obviously that could also happen. We could end up having another congested road like the many others we have in Accra.
So let me reiterate my earlier position. I am only a small mosquito. My business is to implement the policies once government passes them. So the question you're asking is multi-sectorial. The cabinet ministers, the road minister, the transport minister, interior minister, they will decide. And when they decide, obviously, they will tell us what plans they have. And then once they tell us, we will now ensure that it is fully implemented.
If you just joined us on radio, we're talking to the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Henry Quartey. He's somebody who has come up for quite a lot of commendation in recent times because it appears that he's achieving quite some sustainable results in the clearing of those who are settled illegally in certain parts of the capital, of the region. Mr. Quartey, it is quite unique to see the regional minister playing the role that you're playing here, and that's why you're coming up for such commendation. Administratively, help us understand how you've achieved this. Has this required some funding? How have you been able to gather the resources to use your office in the way that you've done so far?
Well, I can only say that we thank the good Lord Almighty. We thank the Excellency, His Excellency rather, the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the Vice President, and all the sector ministers. Because as you can see, this whole exercise, it's not just Henry Quartey. You've seen police, you've seen military, you've seen immigration, you've seen fire service, and they have sector ministries that controls them. So this is a collective, I say, success. It's not just me. And so let us look at it from that approach.
So I guess that means the funding hasn't really come from your office per se, but it's been...
Oh, there's a central government exercise. So certainly there's a central government.
Do you think what you've achieved is something that can be replicated in other regions?
Well, I hope we don't do that comparison, because what pertains in Accra may not necessarily pertain in Ashanti region. What pertains in Accra may not necessarily pertain in the Volta region. I don't think that Volta region has got scrap dealers and onion sellers there. So the regional minister's approach may be different. You go to the northern region, of course, it's a different approach. So all the fingers are not equal. They have their strategy, I have my strategy. Put together, government moves on.
Well, they do have indiscipline and illegality everywhere you go in the country, and it is considered a success that you've been able to turn that indiscipline and illegality around to achieve what you've done so far. So are there any particular lessons in there that you think other regional ministers can pick from?
Well, I have to come back to the same answer. This is a cosmopolitan region, you see, and the numbers here are huge. But the voter register, even if we are to go by that, we are over 3.6 million eligible voter population, right? And then if you go to the ordinary, if you like, population, let me not be, but at least we are around 5 million plus. I don't think that there are 5 million people in the voter region. I do not think that there are 5 million people in Bono East. So you see, the approach is totally different, and that is why I'm saying that let us not compare what happens in Greater Accra to the other regions. I'm wondering whether there are scrap dealers at all in Bono region. Who are they going to sell to? You get my point? So the approach is completely different, and the regional ministers, for example, there's Galamsey. They are fighting it in a different way. So there's no Galamsey here. You get my point. So I'm trying that we do not do the comparisons at all.
So let's look to the future. No doubt there's more work to be done. You've already identified a few other places that you intend to engage with residents and see about moving them away. Do you think that going forward we could find a situation where people then start bringing to you issues in their specific areas in the region and asking for your office to play the role that you played?
The Regional Coordinating Council's offices is a public office. And so when people bring their challenges or problems to the RCC, I don't think there's any problem with it. Rather, what we do is to refer it to the appropriate assemblies or respective assemblies whose mandate it is to ensure that those issues are dealt with. And if it's beyond them, they refer it back to us, and then we also send same to the appropriate ministries, because you see, as I keep saying, there are cabinet ministries, there are sector ministries, and it is their mandates to actually do some of these things, you know what I mean? Yes.
The President wants Accra to be the cleanest city in Africa.
Certainly.
Are we going to see that happen?
One day at a time. get there. And we will see that happening through the intervention of the media houses as well. And while saying this, let me commend the media houses for the wonderful collaboration that we have enjoyed with them so far. I mean, you're standing here today, and what you are doing is to send information to the world that this is where we are. And that alone is the magic. So a very, very, very warm felicitations to the media houses, and I salute all of them, all of you. But then you see, we can only sustain it if the reportage and the choice of words is circumspect. If the reportage seems to educate people more, seems to inform them more, and seems to join the exercise, because after all, this is where we work, this is where our children go to school, this is where we build our houses, and this is where we expect to retire. So it is a collective agenda. Let's all get involved. Let us rise. Let us build for God and country.
Mr. Henry Quartey, the whole country is vested in your success. If what you're doing works, everybody benefits. So on behalf of everyone, we want to congratulate you.
It is not rested in my success. It is rested in the success of His Excellency, the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
There is still a reason why we're speaking to you, Mr.
No, because I'm the servant. He's the President. You see, so let me ask you a question. You are here today. Is that to suggest that Chum should be going around? Your boss. You are Joy. You are here. And what are you doing? Working for Joy. And so who takes the credit? Multimedia. By who? Chum. So why don't I give it to my president?
Oh, we're not stopping.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But we're saying there's a reason why we're here to speak to you.
And that's the reason why I'm here, serving the people, because they voted for the president.
And like I said, we are all vested in the success of what you're doing. So
in the success of what government is doing.
Right, we wish you the very best.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. That's the Greater Accra Regional Minister. And as he has indicated, this is only the beginning. There is more to come. And so the people of Accra can expect that more results like what we're seeing here at the Onion Sellers Market will see. Let's go.
Colonel.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I was behind the gutter. Those structures there.
You're working on them? Oh, beautiful.
Well, that was my colleague Kojo Yankson interacting there with the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Henry Quartey. Interesting bits coming up, but one thing we can take from there, right from there in Agbogloshi, the Konkomba market as well, the yam market being targeted as the next place where there will be some action. Of course, we shall be bringing you all the tidbits you need to know on the back of that. This is how we wrap up. We close the AM show for another beautiful morning, wherever you are. Thank you for making the time. Let's connect again, same time tomorrow. From us here, it is bye-bye. Enjoy your Thursday.